Thank you very much for joining us. The International Criminal Court has opened an investigation into suspected war crimes and crimes against humanity committed by Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory. Palestinians who joined the ICC in 2015 have asked the court to look into Israeli military actions in the Gaza Strip in 2014. They also want the court to investigate Israel's construction of illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem. Now, the ICC says it will also look into the actions of Gaza-based Hamas and other Palestinian groups during the conflict. While Palestine's foreign minister has welcomed the investigation, in a statement, he said, "This is a long-awaited step that serves Palestine's tireless pursuit of justice and accountability, which are indispensable pillars of the peace the Palestinian people seek and deserve." Well, we have two reporters standing by to cover the story for us. Nida Ibrahim is in occupied West Bank, and Harry Fawcett is in Jerusalem for us. Nida, let's start with you. A long-awaited decision by the ICC. It's taken years to come to this decision. What is the reaction first from Palestinians?
Of course, wide welcoming remarks from many Palestinian officials and NGOs that have been working with the Palestinian Authority on advancing this issue in the International Criminal Court. This is the main point that Palestinians were hoping to get to since the Palestinians have joined the Rome Statute in 2015. And some even say that this is the reason why the Palestinian Authority has sought its diplomatic and international approach at the UN Security Council with the hopes to get a full membership. Of course, this didn't happen. They got a non-member state status via the General Assembly, which had allowed them to go forward and join the Rome Statute and ask the ICC to investigate crimes. Now, one of the main issues that the Palestinians hope that the ICC would investigate is the illegal Israeli settlement on the ground. They hope that the ICC's prosecutor would look into this as the main violation of international law. And they believe that this has been a policy by the Israeli Authority. It's not just a war crime here or there. They believe that the foreign ministry has released the statement, as you mentioned, and they say that this has been continuing and these war crimes are ongoing, which is why they want the ICC to investigate and conclude its investigation urgently.
Nida, the chief prosecutor of the ICC, Fatou Bensouda, named the Israeli army, of course, but armed Palestinian groups also, such as Hamas, as possible perpetrators of these war crimes. What will be the reaction there from these armed Palestinian groups, especially at a time when different Palestinian factions have tried to unite and bring about more unity within Palestine?
When the ICC's prosecutor said that she believes that there are grounds for opening an investigation, that was late in 2019, we've seen the reaction from the Palestinian factions, including Hamas, and they have said that they are welcoming, that they want to have an investigation by the International Criminal Court. The Palestinian factions are arguing, and they have been arguing for years now, that their armed resistance is part of their legal opposition and legal resistance against the illegal Israeli occupation. And this is why they hope that the ICC would focus on the Israeli crimes when it comes to the Gaza wars, but also and most importantly, the ongoing and continuous illegal settlement construction in the occupied West Bank.
Nida Ibrahim in Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Thank you very much. Let's now get the view from Israel. Harry Fawcett is in West Jerusalem for us. This is a move, Harry, that's always been opposed by Israel. Any early reactions?
Nothing that we've seen so far to this precise step, but as Nida was just talking about, there was this decision just last month by the panel of judges to say that the criteria had been met for this to be an investigation that could go forward. And at that point, we heard a very strong denunciation from the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of the endeavor, saying that it was pure anti-Semitism, accusing the ICC of being a politicized institution. Of course, he worked very closely in concert with the Trump administration to try to head this off, the Trump administration issuing sanctions against specific members of the International Criminal Court. That's something that the Biden administration has been looking to unpick. But the new President Biden has also said through his officials that he views this as something that shouldn't go ahead, this investigation. There's also been comment from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition partner and shortly election rival Benny Gantz, the defense minister. He was asked about this on Tuesday, and he was saying that he was judging himself as one of hundreds of people who could be investigated and potentially prosecuted under this investigation. Of course, the ICC investigates individuals, not states. And he said that members of the Israeli military would be protected, and that he was at that stage hoping to try to head off this investigation going forward. Now, of course, we know that it is going forward. And as far as Israel is concerned, they challenge the legitimacy of the process.
Thank you, Harry, for that. Harry Fawcett, live for us there in West Jerusalem. Let's discuss all this further now with Ambassador Omar Awadallah, who's head of the United Nations and Human Rights Department at the Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He's via Skype from Ramallah. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for being with us. As Harry Fawcett, our correspondent, said there, the ICC investigates individuals in this case and not a state. And already the Israeli Prime Minister has said that he would protect individuals within Israel who are suspected of these war crimes. So what is your reaction first to this ICC decision? Do you think it can achieve justice?
Definitely, we believe that the prosecutor did what she has with its obligation and under its mandate. That's why we saw it as a victory for international law and justice. And that's why we welcome the decision by the prosecutor to investigate the war crimes that committed in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem. We understand that Netanyahu and his war criminals, they should be afraid now from this important body, from this important stand by the International Criminal Court.
This, as you say, is about investigating war crimes. It's not necessarily about determining other issues in this conflict, issues like statehood and so on. So how does it help Palestinians?
It was very clear that there is nothing to do with the issue of statehood, and that question was resolved actually by the decision by the pre-trial chamber, that the issue of statehood is not the thing that they are looking in. They are looking about the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. And now, by the decision of opening the investigation, it's very clear that there is a temporal and territorial jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court where they can investigate war crimes and crimes against humanity. That means that the era of impunity for the Israeli officials is coming to an end. And within the mandate of the International Criminal Court.
Right. It's not just Israel, however, as we've said. Palestinian factions, including Hamas, are also likely to be investigated here. And the next step in this will be to determine whether Israel or Palestinian authorities have investigations themselves and to assess those. So how much cooperation can we expect from the Palestinian factions?
We are ready. We all welcome the decision by the prosecutor, and before that, we welcomed the decision by the pre-trial chamber. All the factions and the government of the State of Palestine, we all welcome this decision, and we are ready to cooperate, to coordinate with the office of the prosecutor or the investigators, and or any other advisors by the International Criminal Court. We will be ready to cooperate and work closely with the International Criminal Court, but we don't believe that Israel is going to investigate, because it is a policy, it's a widespread and systematic policy of aggression against the Palestinian people and crimes against the Palestinian people. We don't believe that there is any kind of investigation in the Israeli colonial regime and the settlement regime. It's a governmental policy and a state's policy.
Indeed, Israel has already indicated, at least the Prime Minister has indicated, that it didn't want to cooperate with this investigation. Let me ask you a final question, Ambassador, and this is about Palestinian unity. This is coming at a time when the various Palestinian factions have been trying to unite ahead of elections that are coming up soon. Are you concerned that any investigation and its result or conclusion, if it found, let's say, Palestinian factions also guilty of war crimes, would hamper these efforts to bring about unity?
We don't think that, as we said, that all the factions, Palestinian factions, and the government, they welcome this decision, and we are going to coordinate. We believe that our unity is a major and a pillar issue in our march to freedom. That's why none of the investigation or any other issue can stop this process toward reconciliation and having a unity between West Bank, including Jerusalem and Gaza.
Ambassador, thank you very much for talking to us about this. Thank you for giving us your reaction. Ambassador Omar Awad-Dalla is head of the United Nations and Human Rights Department at the Palestinian Foreign Ministry.